Welcome to EnglishX on ICRT, brought to you by MandarinX and Vine Education Company. EnglishX is where managers learn to discuss international business topics in English and to start thinking more like a boss.
欢迎收听 ICRT EnglishX， 每周四早上由中文课和葡萄藤国际语言训练中心特别企划，让您掌握全球商业趋势。
Good morning, everyone. My name is Russ.
And I'm Ting.
And welcome to EnglishX. We're here to get your day started right, thinking business and thinking English.
Yes, but today our topic is going to veer off a little bit. What are we going to be talking about instead?
Yes, because something's been on my mind and it's been troubling me a lot recently. You may not know this, but I have political aspirations, Ting.
Oh, do you?
Yes, I do.
To be...
One day, I want to be mayor.
Of?
You think I could be mayor of Taipei one day?
No.
Well, there's just many things that that trouble me about politics in Taiwan, in the United States, in Bolivia, generally all over the world.
Right.
I'm very.
There was a huge, big political issue in your home country.
Yes. Or basically, we can. I don't even want to discuss it because it gets me so aggravated, and it's unsure what's the status of my country right now in terms of their politics. But here's the thing, though. Anytime I want to discuss politics with someone, and we always teach our students not to discuss politics because we tend to say the wrong thing. You know, we tend to stick your foot in your mouth.
Right, it gets a little tricky.
Yes. So, but today what we actually wanted to do is we wanted to teach all of you it's okay to talk about politics, but there's a right way to do it.
So a safe way to do it.
Yes. And today, that's where we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss how to talk politics in English without being a jerk.
Hot topic! Improve your English as we discuss real-world problems many English students have at work.
让我们看看这礼拜有哪些热门国际商务话题。
So Ting, what is the safe way to talk about politics in public?
I guess the safest way is to avoid siding with any particular political affiliation or party off the get-go. Right? What you want to do is stay relatively, we call it bipartisan or impartial on issues, or just, don't get into anything too deep, at least not in the beginning.
When
you're talking with someone.
Okay. Yeah. So basically don't pick sides or don't clearly be, far right or far left, right? Right. And this is very important right now because right now in Taiwan, we have some elections coming up for president.
Yeah, we have the big one.
The United States also, in my country also this year. So, in all countries that I'm technically from, there's a lot of political elections going on. Very key for the key position of the top power, being president. So what goes on before a political election?
Well, kind of a lot. First off, you're going to have a lot of candidates, right, who are trying to run to be the president or take some kind of political office.
Yes, so the candidates are the people that you would vote for, right? The ones that they say they throw their hat in the ring, they want to be president.
Yeah, like your options, right?
Yes.
So the candidates, what they do is they're going to run a campaign or they're going to run for election. And what I mean by running a campaign is they are going to do a series of events like around the country that lead up to the election, to try to communicate to the voters, potential voters, their ideas on a whole set of issues, right?
Yes.
And let the voters kind of get a feel or sense of what they stand for, what their values are, where they stand on certain issues.
So they do this by having debates, right? Where they get up on stage
Well, besides the debates, they also just go to local areas just to meet, shake hands with voters, take pictures, give a speech.
Yes.
Right? So that's one wing. But yeah, you're right. Getting into debates, that's another thing.
Okay. All right. But before that, I'm always very confused because before the actual elections, they always have this thing like, who is the leader? Who's the so-called front runner, right? They carry out all these polls, and a lot of the people participate in these polls to try to to gauge which person is kind of leading, right?
Right. We often get these polls like we watch them on the news a lot, right? They're kind of like these surveys of public opinion.
Yeah.
Right. We can get a sense of like who's leading, who's behind. Right. So have you been watching the polls or the debates in the U.S.?
Well,
was it the primaries?
They've been having their votes because right now they're choosing who's going to run against Trump, who's going to get the ticket for the Democratic Party. And I've just been watching the highlights because I don't trust any of those opinion polls because I feel they're very like, all right, obviously this one television station prefers one candidate, so they favor them, and they're the ones that are carrying the polls. Or one media outlet favors one candidate, so they carry out the polls in favor of their candidates.
So you're saying in media-wise, there's still partiality happening.
There's a lot of bias in media, so I don't trust any of that anywhere. Yeah.
For me, it's I can only watch highlights because for this year, there's been so many candidates, right? There's like a
Democratic Party. There's like
usually
10,
typically
20,
we think like 3 or 4. There's like 10.
Anybody,
there's so many candidates that there's too many people to listen to.
They all think they can beat Trump,
and so the debate runs long, right?
Yeah.
So you're just getting a lot of people, and it's a lot of time.
Yeah. So those are how the polls work, and
also before the election, the candidates themselves have to go around the country because they have to fundraise. They got to get their contributions, right? Because it's not cheap.
Being nice. He sent a couple keywords there. Fundraising, get contributions, which basically means get people to give him money.
Because running a campaign is not cheap.
Yeah. Right. So and to me that kind of
because it's not what we think of as in typical business. You're not like this salaried employee. You don't have I don't really know how
most
that
of these
works.
people are wealthy anyways. So they shouldn't go around asking for donations. Here, help me run a campaign. Help me pay for this advertisement to attack other candidates.
Well, they're wealthy. I don't think they're wealthy enough to really run the whole campaign.
Whole campaign.
Yeah, because a campaign can run for like over a year, right?
Yeah.
So that's a year of just traveling to country, and you have to pay a lot of staffers.
But isn't that the problem though? The problem is that those people that are fundraising, it's basically the ones who can raise the most money have the most power and can therefore run and be the front runners.
Well, that is a debate, controversial issue of like how where the sources of campaign funding is, and also the limits of that.
Funding.
Yeah.
Right. So we have these candidates, the ones that are on top, we call them the front runners. And then right now in the Democratic Party, there's so many candidates. What about these long shots? Do you think they should just give up?
I think the idea is if you're in a democratic country,
Yeah.
right, there's the feeling that there's always a chance. Right, and people love the underdog, right? Like people love hearing underdog stories. So sometimes I think it's not a bad thing to have an underdog, and maybe or a long shot, because sometimes they can kind of rally a certain segment of the population, right? They may not be the majority, but they definitely have their niche.
Yeah.
Right. So you shouldn't count them out, but there's a chance. Yeah, they're not gonna make much of anything.
Okay.
In the long run, perhaps, but everybody has a voice. So the idea is you're supposed to use it.
Okay.
Right, so speaking
they're
of
exercising their voice, right?
So earlier you said Democrats, right?
Democrats, yes.
So that's just one of the political parties in the U.S. Could you explain to the audience out there how many political parties are there?
There are many political parties, but in the United States, there are two main political parties, red and blue.
Two
Democrats and
majority
Republicans.
parties.
Yes. The Republicans are red and signified by an elephant. That's their logo. And blue Democrats, and they use a donkey.
Yeah, and the Republicans are also called the GOP.
GOP, yes, that's another way to call the Republicans. Yeah. And in addition to those big two, there are several independent parties. So if you're not one of those two, you'd call yourself an independent, which you're signified by the color green in the United States. Yes,
or even others. Yeah, there's always there's more than one.
There's a lot more. There are a bunch of other smaller parties.
Yeah.
In Taiwan, we have the two big parties, KMT and DPP.
And do you know what the KMT stands for?
Kuomintang.
Yeah, that's right. The Kuomintang. And what about DPP?
Democratic Progressive Party.
I think so, or Democratic People's Party. That was the Democratic People's Party.
DPP, yeah.
One of us is right.
Yeah, one of us is right. But then there is a bunch of other parties. There's a New Power Party, and there's a bunch of other political parties in Taiwan that are very exciting to look at, and they have a lot of great ideas. It's always nice when you have more options, not just two, because one of the things that often happens in the United States is, I don't like this candidate, I don't like this candidate, right? I don't like red, I don't like blue, but I'm not gonna choose who I want. I'm gonna choose the lesser of two evils. I don't like both of them, but this one is not as bad as that one.
Right,
And
so
that's
you
where
end
you
up
get
just
into some-
choosing the one that you don't really believe in.
It would be
right?
great if we had, someone that, we can really believe in and push and say, okay, this is the person who I want to represent me as the leader in.
And from what I've been told, the current mayor of Taipei City came from a independent party. He's not
Yes.
either blue, was it a KMT or a DPP, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to the idea of the parties, right,
Yes.
or campaigns earlier,
Yeah.
right? The winner of those campaigns, right, for each party, they are now what we call they're on the ticket. And what does it mean to be on a ticket?
On the ticket means you're basically in the ballot, so people can vote for you. Yeah. Now they do have something called the write-in, where you can write in an additional candidate, but those usually turn into nothing.
Right.
So generally, when you're on the ticket, means you're going to be on the ballot, and when you go on election day, when you go to the voting booth, they will have your name there.
Yeah, you're one of the nominees. So
Yes.
just think of a
Like-
ticket is you're a it's your
Nominated for an
nominee,
Oscar
yeah.
nomination. Yeah. And there are a couple keywords that I want to focus on right now while we're discussing this, because you're going to hear this a lot. For the Republicans, they tend to call them very conservative and traditional. What does that mean?
On certain issues, they take a more what we call a traditional
approach.
point of view or approach on a lot of things. And for Democrats, that's the opposite. They're often considered, their stereotype is that they're a little bit more liberal or more progressive, or they're more open to new ideas and things like that. Right?
All right. So let me put you on the spot.
Yeah.
You a Republican or a Democrat?
I tend to be more Democrat, actually.
Notice how he says he tends to be. So we would say leaning. He's leaning blue.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing we forgot to mention is leaning blue means you're more left.
Yes.
Whereas if you are a conservative or a Republican, you are more right-leaning.
Yeah. So leaning means like, well, you're not on 100% a Republican, but you tend to side on most issues with that party, right? So there are some people that are what we call, and this is very important for politicians, undecided voters or swing voters that sometimes go blue, sometimes go red, go back and forth. So those people lean one way. I lean Republican.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I lean Republican.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I know there's some issues, but again, it really depends on the issue.
It really depends on the issues. But again, I wouldn't say I'm Republican. I just say I lean Republican because I tend to side with a lot of Republican issues. All right. So while we're discussing, let's go through some of the issues that the candidates talk about.
Right. So both Republicans or Democrats typically are going to take some side on one of these core issues, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of them, and every country kind of has the priority issues. But let's go through one. Big in the U.S. is gun control.
Now, gun control is a very, very, very big issue. And the way you talk about gun control without offending someone is just state your opinion and drop it. You don't need to continue the conversation because gun control issues in the United States, it's a never-ending battle, and you will never win this argument, right? It's just I'm very anti-gun, and my friends are very pro-gun, and it's just it never goes anywhere, right?
You mean in the end, right?
In the end,
they have their view.
They have their view, and we're on completely opposite sides of this.
So in the end, you kind of agree to disagree.
So when you're talking about the gun control issue, state your opinion, how you feel about it, and then move on because it's a never-ending battle, and you guys will. In the end, it just has to be agree to disagree.
Right. And the next big issue, I think this also is big in Taiwan, is the issue of marriage equality.
Marriage equality is also a big issue. Again, just for all of these, we're going to say the same thing. It's perfectly okay to state your opinion, but don't use any language that might be offensive, that might be attacking. So avoid language like you, because you don't want to impose your opinion on someone else. Just, I feel that it's okay because blah, blah, blah.
So when you say you, in a way, you're saying you are not me, and you're drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Saying that we are not alike.
Yeah. Because the problem here, and then going back to the gun issue, the problem is that I feel I have my mindset. I made up my mind on this issue where I don't think it's right, but I should not, with my language, and I should not be saying you should not be able to do this also.
Okay.
So you're taking away other people's liberties. And yeah, so that's the thing that you want to avoid. So regardless if you're against or if you're for or against marriage equality, same-sex marriage, you should never say is like, well, you should change your mind because you are wrong. right? That's the type of language that you want to avoid.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like that's kind of been the discourse, right?
Yeah.
The way discourse is handled now. Instead of like more of a healthy debate of people just sharing views and agreeing to disagree. You know, it's more of saying the you. It's a lot of the you, this, you, that. There's like, you're wrong, idiot. You're, you know, like there's a lot of name calling and a lot of trying to, you know, prove the other person wrong.
Well, you can't prove someone wrong for their opinion. It's their opinion. There's an expression that's going around now saying fake news. Everything's fake news. And they're trying to just basically change your mind by lying to you. And you don't know what you can accept as being truth or not, or truth or false.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just whatever you think and just stick with it, learn it.
And everybody's going to have an opinion, whether or not you have the factual evidence to back you up or not. You have the right, in a democratic country, you have the right to voice it. Right.
Yeah, and it's okay to say your opinion on someone, but if you get a sense that maybe the other person's uncomfortable, you can just continue. Well, that's just how I feel about it. Simple expression. That's how I feel about it. And then you can move on.
And there's a whole huge list of other issues. And I'm going to play a little quick game with you and with the audience here. I'm going to just run down the list here. And you tell me if this
I'm going to get in trouble.
If this issue is more of an American issue or a Taiwanese issue. Okay? I'm going to list some of the other issues. And you tell me if you feel this issue is something that is only a priority here in Taiwan or the U.S. or both. All right. So we had marriage equality, right? That is maybe Taiwan right now.
That is Taiwan and U.S. Definitely in Bolivia, not an issue.
Okay. Next, immigration reform.
Immigration reform. Definitely an American issue. I would welcome more immigration actually in Taiwan. More foreigners coming in, more tourists. Get the economy here rising.
Nuclear power.
Not in the U.S. I think it's a big Taiwan issue because they have their power plant that they want to build.
Okay. How about healthcare or universal healthcare?
Definitely an American issue. Universal healthcare. Healthcare in Taiwan is amazing. Thank you, doctors here.
Yeah, if only the U.S. had something like a universal. Well, that's what they're arguing, right?
They're arguing for doing something like this, and
that's something that's a given for us here in Taiwan.
Right? I love my Jianbao card. Right, it's amazing.
Yes. Next, abortion.
I guess that's an American issue. I don't see people discussing it too much here in Taiwan.
Yeah, because I think it's something it relates to religion.
Yeah. So it's more of a religious thing.
How about climate change or the environment?
Well, that's a global issue. Everyone should be concerned and worried about that, but no one's doing anything about that. Okay,
next, legalization of marijuana.
Definitely an American issue because in Taiwan, illegal people, 100% illegal here.
Yeah.
Capital
punishment, or this is called death penalty.
Death penalty. Is that an issue in Taiwan?
Yeah.
Is it?
I would say both.
Both. Yeah.
Because I think in the whole world, there's like most countries don't do the death penalty.
Yeah.
However, on that list, U.S. is on it. Yeah. And Taiwan is as well.
Taiwan's also on it.
Yeah.
We have the death penalty.
So a lot of European countries that what I've been told they don't believe in capital punishment.
Luckily for us living here, Taiwan is one of the safest places in the world. So we don't need to worry too much about that.
How about the student loan issue?
We don't have guns all over the place. People running around malls trying to shoot us.
All right, next, student loans.
Student loans, an American issue. Taiwan, while universities still can get expensive, it's pretty good here.
It's not near the price they are. And then for those like we have students who have their children going overseas, they know
how expensive it is.
Yeah. Next, religious.
And it's more expensive for international students than for American students.
So it's already expensive for Native American,
Native Americans
for local Americans to get education. Yeah. So forget about it if it's in. If you're an overseas student.
Exactly.
Student loan issue. Oh, no. I just said that. Religious freedom.
Religious freedom.
Maybe neither.
Neither. I mean, there is a lot of racism in the United States. I wouldn't say racism. There's a lot of bias towards religions. And there's a lot of hate still in the United States that...
But nobody's like the government's not like
the government's not
specific
blocking any
religious group to not You're not able to.
And here I'm free to go to church or temple.
Okay.
No one cares.
How about the issue of living wages or the minimum wage?
I think it's an issue in the United States and definitely an issue here in Taiwan. Something that we would like the government to help and assist with all Taiwanese people here to increase the minimum wage and get a better standard of living for people.
So that's both.
Yeah,
I would say that's both. How about taxes, like taxing the rich, the tax reform?
Tax reform?
Yeah.
Definitely an issue everywhere because, in life, you're only guaranteed two things, death and taxes. So all over the place.
All right, very good. That was the game. There's like went through the list.
Yeah, I won. So we're gonna put this list on the website for you guys to see. So what I want our audience to do is, if any of these issues come up in your conversations with foreigners, what would be your stance on this issue, and how can you summarize your feelings on it in 1 or 2 sentences in a way that's safe, and avoid using words "you" and use more "I feel," "I think," "in my opinion." That's a much safer way. So, Ting, how do you feel? I'm going to pick 3 of these, and I want you to tell me your opinion in a safe way.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
All right. Ting, very quickly. Immigration.
Immigration in the U.S. or, immigration. I think overall, my view on immigration is because I myself am an immigrant, I am in favor of...
allowing more
allowing more illegal allowing more immigrants, as long as and making the process easier.
Okay, good. Capital punishment.
I am against the death penalty. Yeah.
Okay. Because
for several reasons. I just think there's more. It doesn't solve the core issue of why the criminals do what they do,
and gun control,
and it doesn't take care of. It doesn't answer anything, or doesn't help us progress forward in terms of
doesn't solve the
about mental health or
doesn't solve the underlying issue.
Yeah,
gun control.
Are you talking about guns? Oh, I'm like you, but I would say I wouldn't prohibit guns because I think that wouldn't fly, right? Because I also have a lot of gun-toting friends. So, I would say
Yosemite Sam is not a real person thing.
No, I grew up in Colorado, so for sure,
lots of guns.
Yeah, and no, I'd say more gun control specifically with, like I said, the automatic rifles.
Okay,
right. But that's just, again, all of this is just my view, and people are free to disagree, free to argue against it, even free to call me an idiot. It's okay. I don't take those things personally.
You're an idiot.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. What happens on election day?
All right. So on election day.
But by the way, have you voted?
I have never voted.
Ever?
Ever in my life.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. I voted for class president in the 3rd grade. I have never voted.
Why haven't you participated in?
Because when I was in the United States, I was not yet a U.S. citizen.
Right. So you couldn't vote.
I couldn't vote.
Legally couldn't vote.
Yeah. By then, going back to Bolivia, I did not have my ID because I studied in the U.S. for so long.
Also legally not able to vote.
Not able to vote. And I'm here in Taiwan, and I can't vote here either.
No. So you have no country.
I have no country. I have paid a lot of taxes over the years into all countries, but I am not allowed to vote.
Would you like to vote?
It would be nice to exercise my democratic right to vote.
Yeah.
However, as I said, I'll be a politician one day. So I'll the day I get the right to vote, I will be on the ticket.
So you can't vote, but you're just going to run for office.
I'm just going to run for office. This is another way to say when you want to be a politician, to run for office.
All right. Good luck. Good luck with that. All right, so first step, what do you do?
The first step is you go to the polling station or polling place. In Taiwan, it's local elementary schools.
Yeah.
Local schools that you go to vote. In the U.S., it's post offices, universities. There are many public buildings that allow you to go and you can cast your vote. Now, there's different ways to vote, but the process is the exact same. You cast your vote.
Or whether it's electronic or paper form or a punch card, right?
And any which way.
So casting your vote just means to vote.
Yes, to vote.
Right. So who votes?
This is this is a big issue, and a lot of people may be confused about this. In the United States, it works completely different. For president, it's not popular vote, which means that the winner is not the person who gets the most votes in the country. What they do is you vote to win this group, and this group votes for you. This group we call the electoral college.
Yeah.
Yes, and they're the ones that actually vote for the presidents and get the numbers. So it's actually a little complicated, and I don't think we have too much time to get into it right now.
But then generally, even if you're the public, your vote does count, right? In the public, we actually sometimes call the people, the citizens, we call you the voting citizens, the electorate.
The electorates, yes.
Right, and then certain citizens in certain counties or areas, each area, those citizens or those voters are called the constituents.
Constituents.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, it'd be like a constituents voting, or the electorate if we're talking about a national vote, an electorate voting.
Yeah.
Right. So what you do is, I guess, you go to the voting booth, you cast your vote. Now, how do you cast your vote?
I've never voted. I don't know.
That's me.
Ting, how do you cast your vote?
Okay, so what you usually do when you cast your vote is you're going to go to like voting booth, like a little private area, right? And then with your, whether it's a piece of paper, which we call the ballot, right? You start, filling in, typing, punching, whatever it might be. And then once you're done, you place it in a box, which we call the ballot box.
Yeah.
Right. And then afterwards, people will start counting those right, once the polling stations close.
Yeah.
Right. And then the next thing most people do is they kind of go home and they start watching the news and to see the numbers come in. You're going to check the voter turnout one, and you can also check like the numbers for each, whether it's a regional or local election, or the national.
See who's winning, because at that point, once the polls close, which means they don't take any more votes in this voting in this area. Once they close, they start counting the votes immediately, and they start submitting those votes. And then you start seeing it on the news. 4%, 5%, 6% of the votes counted.
Yeah, and in some areas,
winning, who's losing.
Some areas may vote till later, and those votes don't get counted till later.
Yeah.
So then the numbers keep coming. So people I know are just glued to the TV, just looking at the numbers, seeing the percentages go up and down. It's a big day in Taiwan too.
Yeah. Well, one thing that you know for sure is, some areas, some counties, some states are favor one candidate. So we'd call those red states, and other states favor Democrats. So another candidate. So those are blue states. So you start seeing this dance between red and blue states. But the key thing is there are some states that are called swing states. In Taiwan, you'd call them swing counties. Right. These are counties. These are places that sometimes they vote one party. Sometimes they vote another party.
It's close to 50-50 as possible. Yeah. So you don't know what the eventual result would be.
Yeah. So it's these swing states that people you said, are very glued to there because they're paying attention. What's going to happen in this key area? Is this area going to go one side or go the other side?
And that's one thing you're going to notice in the U.S. elections. Once you start watching the news on election day, you're going to see, whatever if you're watching CNN or whatever or Fox, you're going to start to see the newscasters or the journalists start to explain like what states, what are happening in each state, what color they're becoming, and also which states like key swing states, and where that is leaning.
Okay, so remember that term, swing states. Yes.
Right. Do you know what the voter turnout is usually in an election day?
Like percentage-wise, number-wise? I don't know.
I think it's 50% or less.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the 40s in the US.
Yeah, in the US, but in Taiwan, I think it's a lot higher, maybe at least 60-70%. Maybe my guess is.
Well, one thing that I think Taiwan has to look into is called absentee ballots. An absentee ballot is like, in Taiwan, you vote based on where you're registered to live. But we know that, you don't always live where you're legally registered to live based on your ID.
Right, yeah, or you are registered in your hometown or home county, but you live most of your life overseas or in Taipei, for example.
Yeah, we have many students that are from Taipei, but they're registered in Kaohsiung. So they actually can't even vote in Taipei. They have to go down to Kaohsiung on election day to vote. So they can't cast an absentee ballot, which means I'm voting even though I'm not in this area.
Or from this area.
From this area. Now, they do this to prevent voter fraud, which is fair, which is true, which is, you should look into that. But at the same time, you shouldn't force people to go back home because some people may not be able to do
Right.
that.
There's a lot of overseas Taiwanese who are working
working overseas, and they fly
working
back to vote.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of that. So yeah, those are absentee ballots.
Now, speaking of this presidential election,
Yeah.
so let's say the president gets voted in, right? Whoever wins, whatever party it is,
Mm.
how long can someone be the president?
You really want to get me started on this?
Oh, why is this such a big issue?
This is the exact problem that's happening in my country, in Bolivia right now. And I'm going to just give you a brief summary of this before my head blows off. Because we had a president who did many, many great things for our country. That was the first indigenous president, meaning he was an ethnic Bolivian president, right? So he was like an
Aboriginal.
He was like
or
an Aboriginal,
Indian.
Aboriginal president. And he did many, many great things for Bolivia. He raised the poverty levels of Bolivia. He raised the GDP of Bolivia. He did some great things. However, with all what's the Spider-Man phrase? With all power comes responsibility. What is it?
With great power
comes
great responsibility.
Yeah. So he ran for 2 terms.
So what is a term?
A term is how many years you are president. So in the United States, it's 4 terms. So you win the election.
4 years. 4 years.
So 4 years. You win the election, and then you're president for 4 years.
And that's 1 term.
That's
and
one
so the
term.
most you could do in the U.S. is
2 terms.
2 terms or 8 years.
Yeah. In the UK, that uses a parliamentary system, which is very similar, where instead of a president, you have a prime minister. He runs for 5 years.
Well, actually, they can run or they can stay prime minister as long as possible. There's
True.
no as long as they're winning elections, which come every 5 years.
Yes.
Or they still have the confidence or support of
their
party.
party. Yes.
Right.
However, in Bolivia, he ran for 2 terms. He won for 2 terms.
How long were the terms? 4 years.
So
How long is the term in Bolivia?
5 años, 5 years. So he ran for 5 years. He was president for 5 years. He ran again and again won. Great power to him.
He was 2 years. Yes.
2 terms.
2 terms. Yeah.
So he has 2 terms. He wanted to run again.
Okay, but the Constitution
in Bolivia, the Constitution says 2 terms. So very easy, because he made so many changes. One of the changes that he made was changes to the Constitution.
So now he can do 3
So he
terms
changed the
or 4 terms or
Constitution
5
and
terms.
he ran for 3 terms, and then he wants to run for a 4th term.
Mm-hmm.
And people say no. So they had this vote, right?
Wait, so he actually he was in office for 3 terms?
He was in office for 3 terms.
15 years?
Yes. And he wanted to run for another term.
Yeah.
People said no. So he said, let's have a referendum. Ting, what is a referendum?
It is a vote.
It's a vote in the middle of the voting year, right?
Right. It's not the actual final election vote, but it's kind of a vote before the vote.
Yeah. So
Taiwan, we had ours this year.
Yeah, a referendum about changing some laws about nuclear power and stuff. So marriage equality,
or just getting the pulse, getting in a feeling of what the public want.
Yeah. So they had a referendum to see if they allow the president to run again.
Okay, so what was the result of that?
He lost.
He
lost.
And then? So did he step down or did he?
Well, no, because he was still president,
Okay.
right? So he went to the Supreme Court, talked to his judges, and he asked the judges that it was unconstitutional to stop him no, it was against human rights to stop him from running again.
Okay. So he used another argument.
Yes.
But that didn't go well, right?
No, because they were his judges.
Oh, okay. So it went his way.
It went his way, and he ran again.
So
and
he
then,
could run again.
Yes, and then he ran for the 4th term, and he was winning in the polls until on election day, 9 p.m., when the polls went offline.
Oh, so it shut down, like a temporary shutdown?
Yeah, for 24 hours.
So it was a weird thing happened.
Yeah, the polls automatically shut down for 24 hours. And when they come back again 24 hours later, what do you know?
Oh, he won.
He won by outright majority.
Oh, so it's very kind of is it like a weird, sketchy situation?
Yeah,
so that's like a potential voter fraud.
Well, the governing bodies said that there was voter fraud, so then he fled the country.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he fled the country, or there was a coup or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. For our audience here in Asia, South American politics are very historied and complicated.
Very, very complicated. So, so that's what's happening. So, how long can someone be president?
As long as people would accept it, I guess.
As long as people accept it, that's the best possible answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, can a president or prime minister lose their job? You just said that the president in Bolivia, that he eventually lost his job, yes? Or he fled.
He fled the country.
Right.
He is no longer in Bolivia.
So it's kind of like a forced resign, I guess, or he kind of felt the pressure to resign.
The media is debating whether to use the term coup or not a coup. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Coup d'etat. That's a great word. Look it up on YouTube. Right
Coup
there.
d'etat, coup d'etat.
Coup d'etat. Coup d'etat. It's written at the bottom of the screen. Very hard to spell this word. But you don't pronounce any of it. Just coup.
Yeah, just the coup.
Just the coup. So they can lose their job. As I said, they can resign, like the Bolivian president did.
Or through a coup.
Through a coup.
Which is like they get overthrown by sometimes the military or another group overtakes the office and takes power.
Mm-hmm. Impeachment, they get impeached. Now, be careful with this term impeachment, because impeachment does not mean you're removed from office.
Yeah, it doesn't mean the president is getting fired or removed.
Yes, it just means that there's a possibility that the president committed a crime and that you're okay to go to trial. So impeachment means they'll begin the trial.
Or they begin this long process where both the legislative, right, Congress and House, and then later the Senate will go through this kind of investigation. They're going to investigate whether a president did some kind of crime. In the U.S., the crime has to be bribery, treason, misdemeanor, or something, this kind of a general theme called a high crime.
Just a crime, yeah.
So, and if it goes through the process and it gets voted, only then would a president be potentially removed.
Yeah.
And it's in the U.S. Do you know how often it's happened?
In the U.S., it's happened with Lyndon B. Johnson.
No, Andrew Johnson.
Andrew Johnson, Clinton, and Richard Nixon. Except Richard Nixon, he resigned.
Wasn't impeached. He
wasn't
resigned.
impeached. He resigned before the voting to impeach. Yes.
He was resigned because he felt the threat of impeachment.
Yes,
he didn't want that maybe that history, I guess, attached to him. Right. And for England, like the UK, so
I have no clue.
They have something called, remember, they have an election, right? So if they continue to win the election, they can still maintain prime ministership.
Yeah.
Right. But they could lose at any time.
Yeah.
So even if I was voted in, or even if someone
in the middle of it, they can just say,
even like this, like, you're supposed to have like a 5-year term.
Yeah.
If it's like 6 months or 1 year and that person doesn't have the confidence of his support of his people, they have a vote. And if it's voted a vote of no confidence, then that person has to step down.
Yes.
And then they vote for a new prime minister.
Right. Yeah. So
it's a different system.
Yeah. So that's a brief rundown of politics in English in both the United States and some in England that we discussed. And as I said, the very safest thing to do is don't be afraid to talk about politics, but always be respectful to your audience. Listen, as much as you may be on one side of one issue, open your ears, listen to the other person, get other perspective. It doesn't mean that you need to change your mind, but it's very helpful for your own arguments and your own feelings to say, yes, I truly believe this, is to listen to the other side and get their opinion. So that's one thing that I encourage everyone to do, is to discuss political issues in a safe way.
Have a healthy dialogue.
Have a healthy dialogue about these issues. Listen to all parties, all opinions, and then form your own opinion. Say, you know what, this sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Much like just networking in a business situation, you want it to be kind of a nice two-way discourse, and not just one way, right?
And if someone is getting offended by this, or not even offended, someone's getting abrasive, like they're too in your face about it, just say, thank you for the discussion. We can move on.
Yeah, or change the topic to ice cream.
All right. Mailbag.
Do you have a question? Well, we have answers. Email us at englishx@vinec.com or on the web at vinec.com/englishx.
有任何问题，欢迎发送到 EnglishX@vineec.com 或者到葡萄藤网站 vineec.com/EnglishX.
Okay, so our first question comes from Derek. I think he's a foreigner in Taiwan.
Yes.
So Derek from Taipei asks, can foreigners with ARC vote in Taiwan?
No, we cannot, Derek. We are not allowed to vote.
Right, simple, no.
Yeah. What is the voting age in the United States? Yu Chen from Taipei is asking us this.
In the US, it is 18. So 18, you are considered legally an adult. So at 18 years old, you can vote.
And in Taiwan?
In Taiwan, I believe it's 20 years old to vote.
2020.
And the next question is, how do Americans in Taiwan vote? And do they have to fly back to their hometown?
As I said, absentee ballots. They have that in the U.S. So I can go to AIT, fill out a form, and it'll send and count my vote.
Yeah, for Americans, we have to go to AIT. We have to register to vote first.
Yep.
And when we register, we have to register under like what state that we would legally be in the U.S. So for me, I'd have to register under California.
Yes.
But it wouldn't be considered a California vote. It'd be considered an absentee vote or an absentee ballot. Yeah, and I just complete it and finish and then send it out before the deadline, and I'm good to go. So pretty simple.
Yeah. Get inspired.
Here are some quotes to help you think more like a boss.
现在来讨论学习动机。
All right, listen up, everybody. If you don't vote, you lose your right to complain. Plain and simple. I have never voted, so I need to shut up right now.
You probably disagree with this one because you love complaining.
I love complaining, but it's your duty to vote. You know, I have never voted. I'm very jealous of everyone who can vote.
But I think part of the reason you can't vote is obviously it's always been.
So it's a legal issue. It's not like I can't vote.
It's because you love living in other countries.
Other countries, yes. But definitely, if you don't vote, don't listen to your parents and vote whatever they want you to vote. Ask the issues. Which of these issues are important to you? Everything that we mentioned in today's episode: gun control, financing, marriage equality, immigration, nuclear power, abortion, capital punishment, religious freedoms, living wages, taxes, all of that. Pay attention to what the candidates are saying about these things, and then decide, you know what?
Yeah,
he's going to be better for my future.
Represents you.
Yes, and go out there and vote.
Yeah. So my quote is from a Monica Crowley. Her quote says, "Voting is as much an emotional act as it is an intellectual one."
Yes.
And I find that very true because most voters, even though we want to say, "Oh, I vote based on his views on this thing," a lot of times they just vote based on the feeling.
He feels right. Yeah.
The feeling the candidate gives you. So
exactly.
In the end, people kind of vote with their heart than their brain sometimes. So, or most often.
Okay.
So I find that quote to be very true.
Yes. Fast words.
Let's discuss some new words and expressions so we can be more like a boss.
让我们回顾一下今天有哪些重点单字跟片语。
Whistleblower. Edward Snowden is a whistleblower. A whistleblower is someone who works in an organization and then publicly exposes the organization's secrets or some of the things that they're doing that's maybe illegal. Right. So that's a whistleblower. Someone who in your organization says, hey, something's wrong here. This needs to stop. And he goes out and he tells the public about it. Call that a
maybe
whistleblower.
Through the media, right?
Through the media, yes.
Next up is a landslide victory. A landslide victory. So a victory means a win.
Yes.
But if you win by a lot, so let's say you vote and you're the candidate and you get like 98% of the vote, right? And the other candidate's 2%. You won by a landslide victory.
We had a vote in our office with our students. Who is the most handsome teacher? Ting won by a landslide.
Oh, I wasn't there.
Yeah, you don't care. He doesn't pay attention to that.
I think Nigel would argue.
I'm going to keep
He wants a revote.
He wants a revote. Lobbying. Lobbying is a great term. Lobbying is, there are a lot of lobbyists in the United States. These are groups that work for a political party that pressure the candidates or pressure people to make certain rules and laws. So they seek to influence legislatures. They seek to influence lawmakers in the country. Yeah, we call those lobbyists. Or to lobby is I want to persuade this decision maker to make up his mind in my favor. So I lobby them to change their mind to support me.
And lobbyists don't always have to work in the government. Sometimes lobbyists are businesses.
Yeah,
right? Businesses have their own lobby groups to try to get the politicians to vote one way or the other.
Yeah.
Next up, neck in neck. Right.
Ooh.
So earlier I said a landslide victory, which is a victory that was one-sided and totally like one side won. A neck in neck race or election would be a very close race. So let's say it's 48% to 50%. So it'd be really, really close. So that is a close competition that is too close to call, too close to say who's the winner.
Yes. And the last one, grassroots movement. This is ordinary people in society taking charge and making decisions on their own. So a grassroots movement would be, instead of like some rich politician
or a business
using his money to start marketing with the media, grassroots movement would be kind of the public, or the people would start, like social media would start posting and sharing and talking, and all of a sudden from the bottom up the movement rises.
It's kind of like a people movement, right?
A people movement, yes.
So like something that was going on in the climate change talk was that little girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was considered that a kind of a grassroots
That's a grassroots movement, yes. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe to us either at our YouTube channel, Vine Education, or through our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play.
Okay, and also to make sure to visit our website at vinec.com and to keep your questions coming. We really still enjoy getting them, and it really helps us to determine what kind of topics that the audience wants to hear.
Yes. As soon as we get your questions in, it's that's a great idea for a topic, and then we start creating more. Remember,
right? We had enough people asking us about, what about the
polls and elections?
Upcoming election? Can you talk about that?
And although we did not want to have this because of the obvious issues about politics, that discussing sensitivity to this, we thought, there's lots of good language here and information here that people should know. So boom, here it is, just for you.
Yeah. So any business issues, anything related to that, or non-business, let us know.
Goodbye, everyone.
All right. See you next week.